Morning everybody. Here I'm going to explain why a business might not want to grow. We talked in the previous video about how company growth can happen via organic or inorganic growth, but actually some businesses might want to remain small. They don't want to get any bigger, and there are various reasons for this. The first reason, they may be operating in a niche market. A niche means a very small area. You're doing something very specific, and there aren't a lot of people who demand that product. And therefore, it's something which is never going to be able to be sold to the mass market. So the opposite of this would be the mass market. That's where you're selling to everybody, and that's not what we're talking about here. A niche market, you're only selling to a very small number of people. So an example of that might be selling cakes which don't have any eggs in, because certain people for health or religious reasons can only eat cakes which don't have any eggs in. But that's a niche market. Your business will never get very big. The second one, there might be high barriers to entry to the industry that you're working in. So for example, because of the law, it may be that very few firms are allowed to operate in the industry that you are in. And therefore, you don't need to worry about new people coming into the market and stealing your market share. You can just carry on what you're doing with little risk of others trying to get your market share. So you don't need to constantly think about getting bigger and maintaining your market share and protecting yourself, because there are barriers to entry to others coming in. When I say about law, it might be that by law you're only allowed to operate in that industry if you meet certain very stringent safety requirements, and it may be very expensive to put those safety requirements in place. And therefore, it might be that you are just protected and you can stay small within your industry. The third one, you may find it difficult to raise finance to make your business any bigger, either via organic or inorganic growth, and therefore you might not be able to make the business any bigger. The fourth one, the owners of the business, so with a PLC that would be the shareholders, they might not want the business to get any bigger. They might be very happy with it as it is. They might think that the profits it's making are sufficient, and they might want to stay focusing on a small area. Also, if someone sets up a small business as a sole trader, they just might not want the troubles of making it bigger. They might think that it will entail a lot more work, a lot more hours put in, and they're happy to keep the revenue and the profit as it is. The next one is about the management in the business. Remember, the management are different to the owners of the business. The management are employed by the business to run the business. And the managers might actually benefit from the organisation remaining small. It might be that they don't have to do so much work, so they may have a less stressful work life if it's smaller. Also, they might be able to focus better on what they're doing and perhaps do a better job. So, for example, the person who's in charge of the design for the company might find that they're much better able to work efficiently and come up with better designs when the business is smaller, and then when they're not focusing on a large range of products. They may actually be able to maintain the quality. And if they're doing a better job and maintaining quality, it may be better for the pay of that person. Regulation might be saying, this is really to do again with the law, this is where the law or regulations say that your business cannot get any bigger than a certain size. And this might be to do with ensuring that there's enough competition within the industry. Because if you have some very big companies, they might start to have monopoly power, which we'll look at later, which might lead to people being under difficult circumstances because prices and quality and choice are controlled if the companies are very big. So the law might say that actually firms can't get above a certain size. The penultimate one, the economic situation, this is to do with the business or economic cycle. And if, for example, the economy is in a recession, there just may not be enough demand to be able to make your business bigger. And that might be why it's staying smaller at the moment. The last one, you might find as a business that if you increase your size and your output, your costs will actually go up. These are called diseconomies of scale. Diseconomies of scale are the opposite of economies of scale, which we talked about here on the left. Economies of scale are where, as output goes up, cost per unit goes down. If you have diseconomies of scale, this means that you get to a point where, as output goes up, costs per unit also go up. And if that happens, that will mean that your profit per unit will actually start going down, which would be bad for you. And you may find that you need to stay smaller so that you avoid these diseconomies of scale. And those are the main reasons. If you look back at the last video, you can see the reasons to grow a business, and these are all the reasons to remain small as a business.